Hello, everyone, and welcome to Life Trek. Thank you so much for joining the Soul Sisters today as we dive into a topic that's very close to our hearts. Something that so many of us feel deeply but rarely say out loud: the pressure to do it all, to manage everything, to show up for everyone, and somehow, through it all, stay cheerful and composed and not let anyone see just how tired we really are.
Yes, Namrata. Superwomen, that's who we are talking about today. And no, not the superhero from comic books or movies. We are talking about the superwomen we see all around us, the ones balancing work, home, relationships, emotions, and a long list of expectations every single day.
Yeah, and these are women who seem to multitask really well, carrying out a lot of mental and physical time consuming activities that might be very stressful and also that might be daunting for others. So today we discuss where does this pressure to do it all or to be superwoman actually come from, and what does it actually cost us? Is being a superwoman really empowering, or it is just a role a lot of women they feel they're being forced into step into this?
So, if you've ever felt like you're juggling 100 expectations at the same time from family, society, work, and even from yourself, then this conversation is for you.
Yes, and later in the episode, we have an expert who will be joining us to answer all our questions on the myths and realities of superwomen.
Right. So, to start with, Madhu, when did you first hear the term superwomen?
Well, I probably read the term recently, like recently as in the last decade. But from early childhood, I have read stories. We used to have those Amachitra Katha stories. So I've read
Mm,
those about women who
right.
seemed to do everything, starting from queens to warriors to scientists and all. And they did everything so bravely, fighting against all odds. So they sort of became figures of admiration for me. And in my mind, they were no less than the Superman I read about in the comic books like Phantom, Superman, Mandrake, etc. However, if you're talking about the term itself has come into the public domain in the last decade, like I said. So, as I said, while it's used to describe women who seem to have it all, do it all, women who are held up as role models to the rest of us.
Right. So, do you think superwomen are the same then as the super achievers? Sangeeta, what do you think?
Well, Namrata, these superlatives like superwomen, super achievers, or sometimes we call them as women of substance. All these terms, I believe, are for celebrating the strength and achievement of women, be
Mm.
it in daily life or in any particular field.
Mm.
But Namrata, I would like to hear from you what you think is the origin of superwomen as a concept.
Well, personally, I feel it begins very early in childhood when girls are often praised for being responsible, nurturing, caring, efficient, and mature. And over
Mm.
time, that praise quietly becomes a kind of conditioning where we start believing that this is what makes us good or worthy. So, somewhere
Mm.
along the way, the thought shifts from this is who I am to this is who I need to be appreciated, to be accepted, right?
Yeah, well said, Namrata. And as girls grow into women, then probably they carry the same thought process forward, and gradually their sense of self-worth and relevance gets tied to how much they do at home and outside and how well they do everything. And then it becomes a vicious cycle of proving to themselves and others, I am enough because I can handle everything.
Mm. And when appreciation comes, you manage everything so well, you're amazing. For some women, it feels good, it feels validating. But then somewhere women might also start depending on that validation and feel the need to keep living up to it all the time.
True, true. But I have another perspective on that appreciation. I feel many a times this statement, you manage everything so well, at some times it stops being a compliment and it starts feeling like manipulative
Yeah,
behavior.
yeah, that's also true. But come to think of it, I've also come across so many women who seem to navigate multiple roles every single day, and from the outside, it all looks so effortless. But the truth is, it may not feel the same for everyone. And
Yeah.
sometimes when we see others holding it all together, It doesn't just inspire us, it also makes us question ourselves. Why am I not able to do this? Especially when there are people all around you, they start comparing you with others who hold it together and then comment on our abilities.
True.
Yeah. Namta, our society can be really ruthless while judging the capability of a woman.
Yeah.
It has its own scale and parameters for measuring the lives and achievement of women. And when people comment, they never take the operating environment of any woman into consideration.
Mm. True.
Everyone is dealing with a very different situation, be it in terms of ability, support system, financial parameters, and various other things.
Absolutely.
True. Absolutely, Sangeeta, and I feel this, I think, Namrata, you talked about doing everything. I feel this myth of she does everything is sometimes used to pressurize other women also into doing everything.
Yeah.
It's like common joke of Sharma ji ki beti, Sharma ji ka beta that all of us Indian parents use to kind of motivate our kids.
Right.
But seriously speaking, you can look at it from another aspect also, which you also mentioned. It is said that human ability and capacity is infinite, and it can grow as you nurture it or exercise it. Okay, so
Mm.
sometimes this comparison can be inspiring and empowering too. If the comparison is done in the right spirit, it may motivate
Mhm.
also.
Mhm.
I also say it this way: those who choose to be in the role of superwoman, they enjoy it immensely.
Yeah.
Okay, they have that ability of doing it also.
Mm.
But if this role comes from a place of compulsion, then definitely over a period of time, it might cause burnout. One example of compulsion could be a family where one partner does not take much responsibility, so automatically it comes on the shoulder of another one.
Right.
So
Mm.
willingly or unwillingly the other partner has to do it.
Mm.
Yeah, true.
Okay, yeah.
And I think another such example I can quote is, this social media, which I feel is
Mm.
adding even more pressure to overachieve. These
Mm.
social media influencers, they curate and present their best moments, how well they're doing at work, how beautiful and well put together they look at all times, their kids' achievements, etc. In the last few years, there's this new trend, content on what a perfect day should look like. Getting up early, doing yoga, eating nutritious food, laughing with your family in a perfectly designed home, and add to it advice about having perfect partners and perfect relationships. So when we see, so when we see this kind of content, it's quite natural to think, oh God, why am I not able to manage all these together when these people can? Why am I not perfect and capable? And without even realizing it, we start measuring our lives against these snapshots and seeking the same kind of validation for ourselves. So
True.
actually, no one pauses to think, okay, these are their best moments, but they must be having their normal days too, which of course they will never post on social media, right?
Yeah, Namrata, it sounds, really silly to say this, but I myself have gone through this comparison. I would
Okay.
look on Facebook and see other people's lives, and then I would be like, why don't I look like that? Why am I not having my lipstick on at all times? Why am I not dressed so well? And then
Yeah.
gradually you grow up and you realize that, like you said, it's
Hmm.
not normal.
Yeah.
But I think I just read about it. It's called if you're excellent by choice, or are you excellent by compulsion? So
Hmm.
that's what it all comes down to. But in real life, Namrata, I would like to ask you, do
Hmm.
you know of any woman who is a superwoman and is doing everything well?
Yes, I think my cook is one such woman.
Mm.
She's faced a lot of adversities in her life, but I've never seen her smile ever wavering from her face. So from losing her mother at a very tender age, dealing with a stereotypical stepmother, then being betrayed and abandoned by her husband, having to bring up four daughters all on her own in a completely new city. But
Mm.
she never faltered. She worked so hard, exploring every opportunity she could to get a better lifestyle for her kids. And
Wow.
today, her three older daughters are well educated and placed in good jobs, and she is financially very stable. So, I think she's a real superwoman.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
Sangeeta,
well.
absolutely. Sangeeta, what do you say about this?
See, I think I see all these women all around me. Okay, be it in our friend circle, workplace, or family.
Hmm.
And for listeners, they can give themselves a pat in their back for the wonderful job they are doing in whatever situation they're pulling it through all odds.
Right.
Having said this, since you are asking about superwomen, with due respect to all the professions, I personally have a very deep respect for women who are doctors in police service, defense personnel, journalists, pilots, you know. And frankly, when I'm flying, if I hear that there's a lady pilot in the cockpit, I feel so proud of them.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I feel really excited and overwhelmed when they land very smoothly.
Absolutely. Even I feel the same, Sangeeta. I think, yeah, I think it's a completely different field. But I also see women who multitask, try to do it all, and it has taken a heavy toll on their health, which is not really noticed by others.
Hmm.
Yes. And on this note, I also want to talk about the invisible load that women carry. The invisible load is the emotional load of balancing multiple roles and taking responsibility at all times.
Yeah.
For example, something even as small as ensuring that meals are ready on time, a very important part of Indian households,
Yeah.
and it takes a lot of effort and energy,
Yeah.
and nobody nobody really notices this, and and all women they traditionally own this responsibility.
Yeah.
And another example could be a lot of women they sacrifice their own ambitions for their families, partners, children, home, etc., and nobody notices this kind of emotional load, you know.
Yeah. That's so well said, Sangeeta. And we all have been there. We've gone through this.
Madhu, what about your superwoman story, something in your family?
I often, on all our episodes, I often talk about my mom, and I think she's a perfect example of what a superwoman looks like. And we all have seen our moms go through this. So my mom had 4 children, extended family. There was a constant stream of guests from our village, and she had a job. She managed it all. She cooked, cleaned, she stitched all our clothes, made pickles, snacks, sauce, squash, papad, cakes, biscuits, everything. She made everything at home. And it was all perfectly done. Even today, she's 79 and she's active and takes all the responsibility that she can without complaining. Frankly, not to brag, but I feel I am also kind of a superwoman, or I was,
Yeah, very
till I
true.
realized I was putting too much stress on myself, and then my health suffered. So then, when I went to a doctor, she gave me one piece of advice that helped. She said, "Stop trying to be a superwoman, listen to your body." And then I realized I had to prioritize myself and my health.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think I have another perspective. When people talk about superwomen, we immediately think of someone balancing a high-powered career along with everything else. But I think
Yeah.
the idea of a superwoman shouldn't be limited to professional success alone. There are so many women whose work happens quietly within families and homes, caring for parents, supporting loved ones, managing the emotional and practical needs of a household, like Sangeeta said. And that work is just as real and demanding. So,
True.
if being a superwoman means showing up every day, taking responsibility, caring for the people around you, and doing your best with the circumstances life gives you, then maybe many women, including me, could be called superwomen.
So true.
So
So
true. I'd just like to play one small, quick game. And I want to test the waters of superwoman and you both. Namrata, you go first.
Okay.
Complete the sentence. Sometimes I feel guilty when.
When I think about the path I didn't take professionally, but then I remind myself that caring for family and managing a home is also meaningful work, even if it's not always recognized the same way.
Sangeeta, you next. I wish people understood that.
everyone is selling through different situation.
True.
Madhu, it's your turn. I don't want to be strong all the time because
Because then my strength is taken to mean a life with no problems, no no's.
Mhm. This is just a glimpse of what we and so many others like us go through every single day. So, to help us understand this topic a little deeper, we thought it was important to bring in someone who works closely with people's emotional and mental well being. Joining us today is Dr. Sushmita Mishra, trained clinical psychologist from National Institute of Mental Health and Neurosciences, Nimhans, Bangalore, with 25 years of clinical experience. With experience in multicultural settings in top hospitals all over the country, Dr. Mishra is currently a consultant clinical psychologist at Apollo Hospitals, Bhubaneswar, and a renowned name in the field. Welcome, Dr. Mishra. It's an
welcome.
honor to have you with us today.
Same here. It's a good topic.
So, Dr. Mishra, we have been discussing and we were discussing about superwomen, a term we hear a lot these days. From a counselor's perspective, what do you have to say about this?
See, if you ask me from a counselor perspective, we as counselor see superwoman different from superwoman syndrome. I think we all Indian women are, or women who are working or non-working are superwoman, I believe.
So
Whereas
true.
when we, yeah, so we are dealing with multiple works and each of us and having a lot of kind of work together doing it, but when it comes to syndrome, then it's a kind of it's not a medical disorder, but it's definitely a psychological um, uh, parameter where we need to do some intervention is required. So,
Okay.
like I said, what it means to be a superwoman, we all are like, confident, capable, managing multiple roles, sets healthy boundary. But with that, the superwoman asks for help when needed and maintain a self-care and balance. Whereas when we go to a superwoman syndrome, we see that the same superwoman also do the lot of multiple tasks, but the problem is she takes all the pressure to do everything. She has difficulty saying no and feels responsible for everything. And also there's a lot of guilt within. Therefore, many times they have difficulty saying no. And this lead to stress and burnout.
Okay.
So, if we see again, there is a little difference between a superwoman and a superwoman syndrome. Superwoman has the strength with balance. I mean, no guilt is there, and they can do multiple or take a lot of responsibility. But when there is a need to say no or set boundary, they can make it. Whereas a superwoman tries to do everything at once, feels very burdened but not able to ask for help or delegate her work to somebody else, and many times we see there is a lot of perfectionisms and also this leads to burnout.
Yep.
So this is the difference. And so a message can be like, a strength is not about doing everything alone. Real strength is knowing when to share the load.
True.
So that is it.
Okay. So
That's a
basically, I what I understood, at least being a superwoman is a really good thing, but we need to set our boundaries so that it doesn't turn out to be a syndrome, right?
Yeah,
well
yeah,
said. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, through that, we can all reflect a reflection if we stop trying to be doing everything for everyone. What part of our life might finally get the care it deserves? Sometimes need to just reflect on this also.
Right. I think that's very interesting and very insightful. Of course, I mean, and I think all three of us, I mean, when you all of us can understand this and correlate it with what we've gone through in our lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's same here. I mean, it's true for each of us. Even I have that kind of thing where there's multiple things we have to manage. The only thing is when it's becoming like when it's the time of red light, we have to just tell that no, now is the time to stop, and can we ask for help without any guilt, or say that we can't do it without any guilt or any anger or irritation.
Yeah, when
So
she can't
that's
do
it.
it, so
Right.
it's a syndrome.
Hmm.
Yeah. Many times it is like that. Like, when we, because, and so in this thing, what happens is many times when a female has super woman syndrome, so they many times don't have the insight. They don't ask for help, and they are too perfectionist or too rigid to ask for help. They feel guilty
Mm.
asking for help. So, in clinical setup, we see superwoman in a like very when they in indirect way when they have developed a mental health disease, not the syndrome, but like anxiety, depression. Many times some other kind of like high blood pressure, even physical illness. So that's when they land up in a hospital setup. Uh,
When you say
and
inability to ask for help, could it also be because we don't see? Frankly, I mean, I'm in office. I used to be a control freak. I used to want to do everything myself, and because I didn't trust that anybody else would have the same level of perfection or the same level of attention to detail that I would have. So, could that be a
mm,
reason that we don't trust that others will do a good job, or is it just an inability to let go?
Eh, more than its inability to let go, it's like they have more of a guilt sort of thing. I mean, they definitely they don't trusting is something. I mean, because again, trust is a concept of a perfectionism. Like you will only trust a person who is perfect. Otherwise, and most of us are not perfect.
Mm.
So what happens is mostly the perfectionists don't land up like giving their job to others because they are not perfect. So they do it because they know that only they can do it perfectly. So perfectionism is definitely a part of this superwoman syndrome. But of course, when you ask about perfectionism, it's a continuum. It's a continuum. A continuum means we
Yeah.
can be on the one extreme to not at all perfectionist. So in clinical setup, when we go for when we do diagnosis, we also do personality assessment. So when we go for like why a person has depression or anxiety, we will look for these kind of things. Other person is too perfectionist, and we find many times, and there are cutoffs. We have scales, so there are cutoffs. So if it is too much, then we'll say that
Yeah.
this is the cutoff,
So,
and you are
yeah.
definitely suffering from perfectionist. There's a disorder called perfectionist personality disorder, which is there in DSM-4.
Okay. So there's a thin
So
line between both things.
yeah, there are cutoffs. So we might be perfectionists, but if we can, the only thing is how flexible we are.
Yeah.
How flexible. If we are too rigid,
Mm.
then there is problem.
Yes.
Problem of like we will be overburdened, and there's a lot of like burnout for that.
Mm.
And then of course there's a lot of emotional burden also we take. We can't say no, so then we keep it inside, and then one day it'll blast. So it affects all our area. The syndrome affects all our area, like health and relationships and work front. So it does affect.
So why do you think women try to be superwomen? What's the need
Yeah,
that they feel to be, they
yeah,
want to be a superwoman?
yeah. No, culturally we all are, and when we take tasks, we are born and brought up in a way, then we tend to become superwoman. How it become a syndrome is a particular thing, and it starts from childhood. It has an effect on, I mean, society has an effect, parenting has an effect, media has an effect. So like I want to share like how particular temperament children tend to develop more into superwoman kind of uh, superwoman
Syndrome.
syndrome they have more. Yeah.
Mm.
So, like one kind of person, usually in our clinical setup, no, we say that there are few types of temperaments. So, in that particular temperament, like easy to go temperament, then difficult children, and then difficult to warm up. Basically, there are three types.
Mm.
So the easy children, they usually don't, because they are easy to mix up, and then they manage this thing. They are very, I can say that they are fluid. They are not rigid. But difficult to go on children, which we call as orchid kids also in our, metaphorically, and the easygoing we call as sunflower. So the orchid kids tend to develop more this kind of thing, because they are difficult to warm up, difficult to adjust, and they take so what happens is, as they are growing up, they start taking up many things, like what if somebody, if I say no, what, how the person will take. And they also have a tendency that, am I hurting others? So they start developing this thing of saying no, difficulty having saying no from
Okay.
childhood. Okay. And also, we also find that even parents also have this kind of personality, not as superwoman, but maybe perfectionist. So they'll say, you be good girl, and you be like this, and you have to be perfect, and it is good to be perfect. So the child usually, especially the difficult to warm up children, they start taking it as if, like, no, I have to be perfect, I have don't have to say no, and only then I'll get attention. So many times it is for attention also in children.
Mm.
And plus
So I'll
society
just,
says that.
yeah. I'll just give an example here. Like when
Mhm,
my daughter was small, and then my
mhm,
relatives, I mean, I was seeking help from people, how to
mhm,
bring up a child, like we all nuclear family
mhm,
mothers do. So
mhm,
then
mhm,
somebody told me that if the child misbehaves, tell them that nobody will love you if you do this. So I just thought that was an amazing piece of advice. And then I would tell my daughter, if you behave like this, nobody is going to like you. Then two, three times like that. And then my mom was like, that's a very, very bad thing to say. She will develop lack of self confidence, and she will not be her normal self. So never tell her that nobody will love you if you behave like this. And just simple things like, if you don't keep your room clean, nobody will love you. If you don't take
yeah,
baths,
correct,
nobody will love you. Yeah,
correct,
those things
correct,
are not good
correct.
to say.
Yes,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah. Yeah, so that has an effect. But what I'm saying is, temperamentally also, the child would have been a temperamentally a difficult child, awkward child, which has difficulties, don't know how to
mm,
adjust. So they say that
mm,
to adjust, we need to be like, we have to do this. So they pick up then the easy temperament child.
okay.
Of course, the society has an impact as they are growing up. Other teachers will say, "No, no, be perfect." No, I have a kid like who came, and then this girl was like similarly having the syndrome, developed a lot of anxiety. She was working in IT sector, and then she said that, when I was in school, I was the best, and in at home also I was the best. And so this thing to do the best was there within me, and I always got reinforced a lot of appreciation for that. So now when you are saying to let go of this habit, how can I let go? What will happen to the my appreciation and all? So then we work on the deeper kind of thing, that their belief, because they are growing up, so their belief what they have,
See,
we
I
work
think this
on
is
that.
this is what Sangeeta was talking about when she said, we from early childhood we tie in our relevance in the society around us, or our effectiveness in terms of how much work we do and how well we do it.
Mm.
So that is
Yeah,
probably the
society reinforce. So somewhere society is that way responsible, where society is reinforcing us
yeah.
to
Mm.
become that and taking multiple
Mm.
responsibility, rather than just to say, just it's okay to just take a break, and it's okay. Even to study also, how many times we tell the children, "And it's okay if you don't study today, or if you don't get good marks, it's okay, and we still love you."
So then, when
So
you're talking about society and societal expectations, I have a different question. So, do you think women are biologically better multitaskers, because of which they start doing everything, or is that only a social expectation that women should be
It is
better
a social expectation and a social myth created by the society. It's a myth. It's a myth. Nobody is
Oh,
good at multitasking. If we do multitasking, then our productivity will get affected, definitely. So
yeah.
kind of product will, so that will get affected because our
Mm,
attention will be divided. So definitely multitasking is not good for a male or female.
mm.
It's been maybe the society has given this that you female are better in this, you can do multiple things. So it's a myth.
Well, dear listeners, Dr. Mishra is going to be here with us for some time more. But let's bring this episode to an end here as we all need a break. So, do join us back for episode 2 of The Myth and the Reality of Superwomen. But as we wrap up today's conversation, maybe the biggest takeaway is that strength doesn't have to mean doing everything alone. The idea of the superwoman might look empowering from the outside, but behind it is often an invisible mental and emotional load. We will continue this discussion with more insights from Dr. Mishra. Please watch the next episode of Life Trek with Soul Sisters. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. And thank you, Dr. Mishra.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.